Hi, I'm Brooke, and today I'm starting a new series where I cook and bake my way through this 2009 cookbook. I'm tired of making the same old things on repeat, so I wanted to do something new. So once a week, my family will choose one dinner and one dessert I've never made before, and together, me and you, following these recipes, will make it together. And for the second recipe out of the book, we are making tonight meatloaf potato surprise. My husband has requested this one. To start the meatloaf potato surprise, you're going to need a large bowl, and in your large bowl you're going to put in dry breadcrumbs, which is 1 cup of dry breadcrumbs. I've already measured these out and they're ready to go. And then you are going to need beef broth, and you will need a 1/2 cup of that, and you'll add it right into the bowl with your breadcrumbs. And then after that you're going to need 1 egg, and you're going to have to crack your egg, and then you need to make sure that it is beaten. So 1 egg into a bowl. We're going to beat our egg, and then add that to our broth and our breadcrumbs. And then once you do that, we're going to have a list of seasonings and onions. So we are going to do, it is 4 teaspoons of diced minced onions, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, and that's going to go right in here as well. So then we are going to mix all of this together, and then you're going to let this sit and marinate for 2 full minutes before we can move on to the next step. And while that is marinating, now we start our potatoes. So we're going to start with another large bowl, and in the large bowl you are going to put 4 cups of hash brown that was frozen but now thawed, and then to that you are going to mix in some Parmesan cheese, and this is 1/3 cup grated Parmesan cheese. And then we add our seasonings, which we have parsley, and we have 1/4 cup parsley minced up, and then we have 1 teaspoon of onion salt. And then we're just going to mix this together till it's all combined. Now that we have our potato mixture all combined together, we're going to set it aside and then get our ground beef out and mix it in with our crumb mixture. Now we have our potato mixture made, and we have our marinated breadcrumbs, and then in a large bowl we have 1.5 pounds ground beef. And we are going to slowly start adding our ground beef to our crumb mixture, and then start mixing it in until it's all combined. I'm just going to use my hands because that's the most effective way to get everything incorporated. So we're just going to slowly start adding this in and then mixing it. Now I have all of the meat and the breadcrumb mixture combined, so we are going to take our hamburger meat. Thank you, honey. And we've got a piece of wax paper here, and you're going to take the wax paper and you're going to start putting the meat on top and spreading it out into a 10 by 10, 11 by 11 square. Once you're done flattening your meat on the wax paper, it should look something along the lines like this. Then you're going to take your potato and cheese mixture and you're going to layer that on top of your meat. I have all my potatoes on top now of the meat, and now is the tricky part. I must admit I've never done this either, so this will be my first time, but we have to roll this. So what you're going to do is take this end and you are going to roll it up. Now I rolled it and it was tricky, but then I got it off the wax paper and into the pan, but you see how the ends are a little bit oozy? You want to close those up. You also want to make sure that you put the seal of the wrap down, so that's on the bottom of the pan. So then I didn't grease my pan or anything. It said not to grease your pan, so you just leave it. We have all the ends sealed, and the seal is at the bottom of the pan. It's ungreased. It's going to go into an oven set at 375 for 40 to 50 minutes. And then after that, we'll pull it out, we'll put the sauce back on top, and then we'll put it back in the oven. Now that the meatloaf is in the oven at 375, we are going to start our sauce that goes on top. So first thing you're going to need is 1 can of 8-ounce tomato sauce. My family likes ours a little bit saucier, so I'm going to be honest, I am making mine a little bit different than the recipe. So the recipe calls for 1 can 8-ounce tomato sauce. I'm using the whole can, which is 15. And then it calls for 1/4 cup beef broth. I did stick with the 1/4 cup on that. And then the recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of ketchup. So I already have that measured out. And then because my family does like it a little bit sweet, the recipe does not call for that. That's the end of the recipe, and then you stir that together. I am adding 2 tablespoons of barbecue sauce, Sweet Baby Ray's. And then you just mix this together, and then we'll add this on top. And just like that, our meatloaf potato surprise is all done, and we get to try it together. Now that is so good. I think my husband and my kids are gonna love this. Thank you for making this with me, and follow along for more recipes as I'll do this every week.